Why would you go to a musical knowing that you don't like the musicals? But you know, people today, bro, they over exaggerate things. They'll be like, "Oh, that shit was the worst thing I've ever seen," and it's really not. It was just an okay movie. I feel like this movie gonna be okay.
Believe me when I say I'ma pull up when the stage drops. Believe me when I say she don't look good.
Yo, what it is, everybody? It's your boy Srotonn here, but you can call me Tone. All right, listen. We finna watch Joker. I don't know how to say this, but I'm gonna say Folie, Deux. I think that's how you say that. The sequel nobody wanted.
Wow, I guess time really does make fools of us all. The first Joker movie was one of those rare moments of cinematic serendipity where everything that should have been wrong somehow came together to
Shout out Zazie Bates. Shout out Zazie Bates.
become absolutely
Zazie
right.
Beetz and Zazie
A
Beetz.
low-budget origin story about a Batman villain that nobody asked for, directed by a guy best known for making comedies that proved the law of diminishing returns, and shadowed by media accusations of promoting violence, misogyny, and generalized buffoonery. It was a film
Hey, man. It's The Hangover. Fuck, what did you want from him?
that seemingly
I
had
like those
everything
movies. I
going
like those
against
movies,
it,
though.
but somehow turned out way better than it had any right to be. In a sea of oversaturated CGI sludge, the Joker dared to tell a small, intimate, complex story of a man pushed into madness and despair by a society that was blindly indifferent to him. A movie with a
True.
wonderfully unreliable narrator, driven by a superb performance by Joaquin Phoenix, and an ending that left the audience with more questions than answers. It was a perfect one-and-done movie that told its story and told it well. No need to do anything more with a character like that because it would just cheapen the experience. So,
One thing as well, if you don't know, I am a DC fan, mainly Batman. So I am a little biased when it comes to the Joker. But I was not expecting this to be like this. Usually I like, the action, a whole bunch of action, this, that, and it had action, of course, in this, but majority of it just wasn't action. It was cool. It was storytelling. It was like, and I usually don't like that, but this was cool. I liked it.
like the rest of you, I was a
first
bit
one.
perplexed when I found out that Joker was getting a sequel, and even more concerned when it was announced as a musical co-starring Lady Gaga. But just like everyone else, I tried to suppress my doubts.
I'm gonna stop as well, but I will keep it going a little bit after this. What's wrong with Lady Gaga, y'all? What's wrong with Lady Gaga? Come on, nah. I like Lady Gaga. Nah, the main thing I want to say, I hate people because I knew this was a musical. And a lot of people should have known knew that it was a musical. Why would you go to a musical knowing that you don't like the musicals? What sense does that make? It doesn't make sense. I don't like horror movies, right? So what do I look like being like, I ain't gonna lie, I hate horror movies. Never liked one in my life. But I am gonna go to this horror movie just to see if I like it. I'm not gonna like it. I know I'm not gonna like it, bro. Like, y'all not thinking.
And ignore that nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach that this movie was fundamentally a bad idea. Surely to goodness Todd Phillips knows what he's doing and wouldn't just shout out some lame cash grab sequel that undermines the integrity of the original, right?
Wrong.
Then I sat down and watched it. And if all 2.5 hours of Joker Folie proves anything, that sometimes you really ought to listen to your instincts. Yeah, there's definitely good elements in there. You can see that talented people were working on this movie, and the ending is definitely going to get people talking. But overall, Joker 2 felt like a dull, bloated, and ultimately unnecessary movie that failed to answer the question that's dogged it since the beginning. Why does this film even exist? Now, I know it's just come out, and I don't want to spoil it for people, so I'm going to keep my plot summary short and sweet, unlike this movie. So with that in mind, let's go. The story.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. 2.5 hours, especially if people saying it's not good. Good God Almighty, that's ridiculous.
It picks up shortly after the events of the first film, where Arthur Fleck has been arrested and locked up in Arkham Asylum while he awaits trial for all the murders that he committed. His lawyer wants to plead insanity, while the prosecutor Harvey Dent's pushing for the death penalty. Bad times indeed. But while he's at Arkham, he meets a young woman named Lee Quinn and soon starts a bit of a romance with her. But is it really Arthur that she's into, or his Joker personality? And what's her true motivation for being there? Well, you'll have to wait and find out. Anyway, the case goes to trial, well, and Arthur's soon confronted by the reality of what he did in the first film by going over most of the key events again. But how responsible was he for what happened? Was the Joker really a split personality that took over him, or just part of him all along? And what will Harley Quinn think of him when she finds out the truth? Joker 2 is kind of a frustrating movie to watch because in a lot of ways I can see how hard many of the people involved are trying to make it work.
Right.
Joaquin Phoenix delivers the same intent.
So I have not watched this movie, but I plan to. I'm one of those people, those weird people who don't give a anybody say I'm gonna watch what I want to watch. I'm one of those people, okay? So I am gonna watch it, but I think it's gonna be a cool movie. But you know, to people today, bro, they over exaggerate things. They're like, "Oh, that shit was the worst thing I've ever fucking seen," and it's really not. It was just an okay movie. I feel like this movie gonna be okay from the way people talk, the clips I've seen, the courtroom scene. I'm excited about seeing that because that does seem really good. It does.
Compelling performance as the first movie, arguably a bit too similar, but we'll get into that one in a minute. The point is though, he's definitely given the role his all, and some of his scenes are genuinely compelling. Lady Gaga, much to my surprise, also turns in a good performance as a crazy superfan enamored by the flamboyant persona of the Joker rather than the flesh and blood man behind it. And if you're inclined,
hey, of course Lady Gaga do good, man. Shout out to The Sopranos, man. Shout out to The Sopranos. And if you don't know she was in Sopranos, do the knowledge.
To look for themes in this film, it's an interesting insight into the intoxicating danger of celebrity and the vast gulf between myth and reality. The two actors play well off each other, and the kind of twisted romance they cultivate seems pretty appropriate for a movie like this, and the film even has you questioning which of their interactions even happened for real. It doesn't do it as effectively as the first movie, but it's something at least. The thing is, I'm pretty sure that the comic version of Quinn was more like the Joker's plaything rather than a manipulative femme fatale stringing him along. But again, it probably fits with what we know about this version of Joker. And I guess that brings me along to my criticisms, the biggest of which is the deconstruction of Arthur himself. The ending.
Because you can tell with this Joker, like he said in the comments, it seemed like he knew he wasn't fucking with Harley, but he was like, I'm gonna keep you around. For whatever reason. For whatever reason, I ain't gonna say it, but this one, it seems like he's definitely easy to manipulate, easy to, mess with how he thinks and shit like that.
Of the first movie saw him fully embrace his Joker persona, shedding the last remnants of his old, weak, victimized personality and embracing the madness of the world around him. It was a logical endpoint for a man who had been desperately trying to swim against the tide for most of the film, and it was kind of cathartic to see him finally let go. It was a final fuck you to the world that had kicked him to the ground again and again, a world reduced to fire and chaos. All of that good work seems to have been undone here, because for most of the film, he's reverted to the same weak, timid Arthur that he was at the start of the first movie. And I can't shake the feeling that there's something almost mean-spirited in that kind of deconstruction.
I will say, I kind of get it, because I be like watching people, contrary to a lot of people believes, you need to look at people who don't agree with you, y'all. You learn things. So when people don't like certain movies, I look at, okay, why didn't you like this movie that I liked? And a lot of people say they don't like it because of character progression. That does not bother me. It doesn't, because I don't know. I think I just see sometimes in real life real quick, like people don't always change. Sometimes they're just the same motherfucker, and they're always going to be. But I think character progression is something that people really, really makes movies great. So I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? If he has no progression, he's just the same old, timid dude in the beginning. I can see why people don't like that.
Construction, as if they're taking a swipe at the audience themselves for liking someone they weren't supposed to. I don't know, man. It just feels like character regression instead of development for me. Then there's the musical numbers that pepper the narrative. I can't believe I'm saying this because normally I fucking hate musicals, but I actually kind of enjoyed the sheer spectacle and performances while I was watching them.
Oh my god.
And Lady Gaga clearly doesn't have any trouble belting out her numbers.
Of course.
But the more I think about it, the more I see them as
Gaga.
shiny objects trying to distract from what's actually a pretty stodgy, bloated and uninspiring drama. The courtroom scenes are basically just a dry recap of the first film, telling us things that we mostly already know and destroying that awesome sense of ambiguity and unreality that made it such a fascinating story to pick apart. Now we know exactly what did and didn't happen, and shit, man, it feels like such a waste. And most disappointingly of all, I actually found myself kind of bored and checked out at times, something that absolutely never happened with the original movie. As I said before, the question hanging over Joker 2 was, is this a story that really needed to be told, or is it just a bunch of talented people doing their best to elevate a studio-mandated sequel into something that it isn't? Well, now that I've seen it, I'm afraid I know the answer, and it's not a good one. Anyway, that's all I've got for today.
I appreciate that. I like this video. I think it shows, it gave like, obviously he didn't like it, which is of course is his, that's his truth. He didn't like it, but it gives an insight of like what people didn't like about it and stuff like that. But again, like he didn't like musicals. It was like, do I really want to like hear what you got to say? You know what I'm saying? But I think he did a good job of explaining why he didn't like it. But it just doesn't make sense to me of watching shit that you know you're not gonna like. It doesn't make sense to me. Also, 2.5 hours. Let's see how long the original Joker was. Okay, so it was 122 minutes, the first one. And I know people are like, oh man, it's just 30 more minutes. I feel like the last 30 minutes of that last Batman was just too long. Like, I feel like I could have got what I could have got at that movie. Hour 45 to 2 hours. I might have the same thing with this. This might be one of those where I might say this shit was too long. But I think that's all I really got to say, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through. I will be watching this movie. You know what I'm saying? Till next time, I'm out.